Okay. So I think that most people who are participating today are now here. There's about just under 70 people participating, and plus the panelists. So welcome everybody to FuelPositive's 2022 Annual General Meeting. It's great to see so many people here. And of course, any of you who are unable to log in, of course, we'll make this available on our website and make the Q&A possible as well. If you do have questions throughout, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the webinar window, as opposed to the chat, because then we can monitor that in one place and get to questions towards the end of the session. I'd first of all like to start by calling the meeting to order. We're going to go through introductions of everybody subsequently, but so I don't need to go through introductions now. But Amy Kam is joining us here from, and Tammy Chan, both from TSX Trust, acting as scrutineers for the meeting. So I'll turn it over to Amy briefly, just so that she can certify the meeting, and then we can get started. Over to you, Amy. You're on mute, just in case you didn't notice. Oh, still on mute.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay.
TSX Trust Company hereby reports that there's one holder represented in person or by proxy, representing 75,000 shares. There's 154 management proxies received representing 76,065,376 shares. The total shares represented at the meeting would be 76,140,376. The percentage of the issued outstanding would be 22.693%.
Great. Thank you for that, Amy. What I thought I'd start with is just a short video introducing key members of our team. We built a phenomenal team over the last year, and we wanted to highlight that for you. Thinking that it would be absolutely wonderful for you to get to know some of the people who are doing all this fabulous work within FuelPositive. So I'll share this over in a moment here. And here we are. So our product, our solution, gives farmers independence over that uncertainty. It creates food security for all of us, which is essential, and it eliminates a supply chain that is completely unpredictable. And over the last year, we've seen supply chains deteriorate dramatically around the world. And this is of huge concern to us as consumers of food, but also farmers, of course, who are the stewards of our land and provide that food for all of us. So we believe that we can create a level of security and certainty for farmers that doesn't exist today, but certainly now exists with the introduction of our technology.
Why I decided to join FuelPositive. I was in a point in my life that I went through several decades of successful positions in high-tech companies. And I got to a point where I wanted to do a little bit more for something that was greater than myself. Leave some sort of a legacy. And with what's happening in the world with climate change, it's difficult to achieve something like that in the industries that I was in.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Spencer, Director of Communications at FuelPositive. 3 things really drew me to FuelPositive. 1, I'm an issues management specialist, and battling climate change is one of the most important issues of our time. It matters, and we all want to do work that matters. 2, we've got a complicated story that needs to be communicated simply so people can understand how much impact our decentralized green ammonia production system is going to have around the world. That's a communications challenge that I can't resist. And 3, this company really lives by its values. You don't see that often, and it made me want to be a part of it.
Hi, my name is Ghassan Shahadi. I'm one of the co-inventors on the technology that was acquired by FuelPositive last year, and I joined the company around 9 months ago as the lead project engineer. Now, I will start by saying that I'm very proud of what I did, and I'm very proud of the people that I worked with, but most important of all is I got the opportunity to participate with FuelPositive and to take on my team's invention with Dr. Dinser from what started as an idea in the lab to a full-scale commercial system that will tremendously save one of the world's pressing problem where my generation and the next generation will not have to suffer any food insecurities, and to ensure a future that is not going to be full of any conflicts. For me, one of the things that I wanted to see as somebody who's been doing research first is doing research on things that will help make the world a better place, and second, not letting that sit in the lab and not go anywhere. So it's very exciting, tough competition to take our technology from the lab at an early stage and accelerating time to scale it up and get to somewhere where it can actually be deployed and be useful. And once our technology becomes a fruitful endeavor, people will be making carbon-free ammonia or fuels to grow crops, power systems, and heat boilers, while being economically viable and environmentally friendly. And I think this is the bigger picture that is going to emerge, and this is what I wanted to see when everything takes off.
Hello, my name is Marek Warunkiewicz, and I'm an independent director of the company, as well as a brand specialist and marketing advisor. Amongst my family and friends, I'm known as the food provider, so I'm really excited about contributing to food security. From the work that I do for our community garden that provides on average more than 8,000 pounds of organic produce for our local food banks every year, to guiding FuelPositive's marketing efforts that will get our system onto farms and beyond in Canada and globally. Our technology will help to feed the planet in a sustainable way, and I can't think of a more important goal.
Bonjour, my name is Luna Clifford, and I have been with FuelPositive since we started. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships and Alliances. I'm really excited to work alongside a wonderfully diverse team of smart, kind, and dedicated people. I believe that building our team around a common mission and shared values is what differentiates us and is at the core of our success. We all work very hard every day to build a greener, kinder, and more mindful world. And in my role, my goal is to help the company stay consistent to these values by pursuing like-minded individuals and organizations for strategic opportunities that align with our vision. As an example, in association with our first demonstration projects, we'll be exploring regenerative agricultural best practices and integrating new, smart soil health monitoring technologies, so we can go a step further to help empower farmers and farming communities with the support they need to care for the environment while improving their economic stability. I'm very excited for the new meaningful opportunities as our great company continues to grow.
Hi, my name is François Desloges. I've worked at FuelPositive for 7 months now in the role of Senior Business and Technology Analyst. I've been deeply involved with the company since 2016, mainly on the electrical energy side of things. I'm determined to have us deliver on the potential of our capacitor technology that we're still advancing with the group associated with NASA. I'm also very driven by the ammonia technology we're commercializing now, which is so relevant and needed to help reverse climate change. We are taking this essential commodity and making it easy and clean to produce exactly where it's needed. And by incorporating on-farm sustainable electricity generation and storage, FuelPositive systems will produce green ammonia at a lower price that has been paid for ammonia in years. and provide consistent supply for farmers for decades to come.
Hello, my name is Derek Boudreau, and I joined the Fuel Positive team 2 months ago as a senior advisor for the company's agricultural implementation. Prior to joining the team, I enjoyed a 27-year career with John Deere, where I had the privilege of supporting agricultural producers globally. I have a profound admiration for our world's farmers, as they have a demonstrated track record of adopting new technologies to improve their productivity, as well as their resilience to operate in a volatile environment. I'm very excited for Fuel Positive's green ammonia technology and its ability to provide our farmers a more consistent as well as sustainable supply of fertilizer. I look forward to scaling this technology around the world to help our farmers meet the growing demand for food from our ever-expanding population.
Hi, my name is Jean Milne. I've worked with Fuel Positive since the beginning of the year as Senior Advisor Government Relations. It's my job to steer the company through the maze of government funding programs available. It is so gratifying to see the reception that we're getting in all departments and at all levels of government. They're interested in our technology, they are taking our meetings, they're talking about our technology solution amongst themselves, and they're reaching out to us. It's very encouraging and it's very exciting.
My name is Andre Mack. I've worked for Fuel Positive for 1 year and 6 months in the role of advisor, carbon credits and emission reduction. I bring over 20 years of carbon credit and emission reduction sector experience to this amazing company. The emission reduction sector is important for several reasons. Firstly, carbon sector planning is and will continue to be a requirement for companies to compete and survive in the quickly decarbonizing global economy. Secondly, Fuel Positive has some of the most promising carbon-friendly technologies that I have seen in my 20 years of work in the sector. This includes carbon-neutral production of green anhydrous ammonia for fertilizer applications, and the exploration of using ammonia as a carbon emission-free fuel in multiple industries and sectors. These technologies all have an emission reduction component that Fuel Positive expects to monetize and share through existing and future offset systems. The future is very bright for Fuel Positive, and I look forward to growing with this company in the years to come.
My name is Adam Ward, and I've worked at Fuel Positive for the last 4 months in my role as Communications Coordinator. It's an honor for me to provide support to this amazing group of people and help build awareness for what they have created. It is clear to me that the world needs this product more than ever, and talking to farmers over the last little bit has only made that more clear to me.
Now, just for the formal part of the meeting, I'd just like to turn things over to Sam Cole, our counsel at Castles, and he'll run us through the formal part of the meeting. Sam?
Thanks, Ian. Really appreciate the introduction, and hopefully we can turn back to the video after this, or are we going to watch on the website? In the meantime, welcome everybody to the annual general meeting for Fuel Positive Corporation. And as you've heard from TSX Trust at the beginning of the meeting, we do have full set of shareholders participating in the meeting here, and we do have quorum, so we will proceed with the formal business of the meeting today. You will have each received a copy of the management information circular for the company, which details all the matters that will be presented at the meeting today. If you haven't got a copy of it, there is a copy available under the SEDAR profile for the company at www.sedar.com. You can also review the financial statements for the company for the years ended September 30th, 2021 and 2020, which are also being presented at this meeting. We don't propose to read any of those materials at this meeting in the interest of time, but we will include them in the minutes of the meeting, and they are available on SEDAR or on the company's website. Outside of that, there are 5 items of formal business to be considered at the meeting. As we don't have shareholders voting in person at the meeting this year through the Zoom platform, instead, I'm going to read through each of the resolutions after this. And then, Ian, I'm just going to have you confirm that you are voting all of the management proxies in favor of each of the resolutions as presented.
Yes.
And so to get started, the first resolution is the annual appointment of the auditor. Management of the company has proposed to reappoint Clearhouse, which is the current auditor of the company, for the ensuing year. And so I call for a resolution to approve Clearhouse as the auditor of the company for the ensuing year. Can you confirm that you are voting all the proxies in favor?
I can confirm that, yes.
Thank you. So that motion is carried. The next item of business is approval of the company's stock option plan. This is an annual requirement under the TSX Venture Exchange rules, and this approves the company's existing stock option plan that's used for compensation purposes. Ian, once again, I'm going to call for a resolution to approve the stock option plan as presented in the information circular. Can you confirm you are voting all of the proxies in favor?
Yes, I can confirm that as well.
That's good. That motion is carried. The next item of business is approval of the shareholder rights plan for the company. This is an existing plan that is in place right now to protect the rights of shareholders in the event of a potential takeover of the company. It was previously adopted by the company 3 years ago, and it requires ratification by shareholders again every 3 years. And so that is what we were proposing here, to ratify the existing plan as previously presented. And Ian, once again, I'm going to call for a resolution to approve the shareholder rights plan as previously adopted and to ratify it for continued use. Can you confirm you're voting all the proxies in favor?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. That motion is carried. Next item of business is setting the number of directors of the company for the ensuing year. Management has proposed and nominated 5 individuals to serve as directors of the company for the ensuing year, all of which are current directors of the company. Ian, to start with, I'm going to call for a resolution to approve the number of directors and set them at 5. Can you confirm that you are voting all the proxies in favor of that?
Yes, I can confirm that.
Sounds good. And then the final item of business for the meeting is the formal election of directors. As mentioned, management of the company has proposed the 5 current directors the company will continue with, and that's Ian, Robert, Merrick, Shola, and Nelson. The proposal is they would continue with the company for the ensuing year. And so, Ian, once again, I'm going to propose a resolution to re-elect the current board of directors of the company as presented by management. And can you confirm you are voting all the proxies in favor?
Yes, I can confirm that as well.
Thank you so much. So, Ian, that concludes the formal business of the meeting then. And then I'll turn things back to you if you did want to attempt with the video again, or if you'd like to continue with the Q&A.
I think what we'll do, we're going to move into a management update. So we'll go through that, and I'm sure that'll generate a number of questions, which we'll be happy to answer once we're through that. So if I can, I will share my screen with that presentation. Can everyone see that? Just need a thumbs up from one of my co-panelists.
Yes.
You got that? Okay.
Yes, looks good.
Is it moving forward?
Yes, it is.
And it's moving backwards. Okay, great. So thank you so much. And that was one technical problem completely averted. I love it. So anyhow, thank you, of course, everyone for joining us today. We put together a presentation for you to bring you up to speed with where we're at. It's been an incredibly exciting time, and we're thrilled to have captured the attention of so many people around the world. Let's see if I can fast go here. The disclaimer, Nelson's going to read this for us now, and then there'll be a test at the end of the AGM, and a dinner for 2 with Nelson will be in hand. So everyone take great note of this. And in terms of our agenda for our presentation this year, we'll start off with a brief description of who we are for people who are new to FuelPositive, and we've got a lot of new shareholders this year. So we're very, very excited to welcome you all here. Our overall focus today will be on our flagship technology, which is a green ammonia production system that we are commercializing as we speak. In fact, we've got remarks for you today from the lead inventor, and that's Dr. Ibrahim Dinser. Dr. Dinser is also a significant shareholder and has a vested interest in the successful rollout of the intellectual property he and his team have developed. Ibrahim, unfortunately, is traveling today, so he wasn't able to actually be live with us, but he recorded his remarks a few days ago so he could play a role in this year's AGM. And we tested that earlier and it was working, so hopefully we won't have a problem again. Next, we're going to take a look back on 2021, and then bring you fully up to date with our activities today. We're going to finish up by sharing with you the milestones we're setting for our company in the coming year and either further into the future. So you'll have a clear picture of what to expect in the coming months. And as I mentioned earlier, please put your questions into the Q&A section below. And at the end of the presentation, we'll try to get to as many of your questions as possible. If we can't get to them during the meeting, we promise that we'll get back to you by email or answer any of common questions in the FAQ section of our website in the coming days. So let's get into this. So just in case, again, if there's anyone here who isn't up to speed with FuelPositive, we're a company dedicated to acquiring and bringing clean, sustainable, and economically viable environmental solutions that can be deployed immediately, not decades from now. Our lead technology, invented and entirely developed in Canada, is now in the demonstration phase and is designed to produce green ammonia on site for a wide variety of uses, especially carbon-free fertilizers and fuel. We also continue to work on our legacy eStore supercapacitor technology. This solid-state energy storage allows for increases in power and energy densities, scalability, charging speed, longevity, and a lower cost per kilowatt hour for energy stored. We can continue to work on improvements to this technology with a group of scientists associated with NASA, with the ultimate goal being the commercialization of this energy storage technology. And we'll provide updates as the improvements are independently certified. So if you already know us, you'll be aware that we are a vision, mission, and values-driven company. We've adopted the provocative words of wise beyond her years, Greta Thunberg, as our corporate vision. Sometimes someone says it so perfectly, you don't want to change a word. So as Greta says, the climate crisis has already been solved. We already have all the facts and solutions. All we have to do is wake up and change. So with that truth in mind, we need to push hard against the resistance that still exists out there and understand that this incredible momentum of change that FuelPositive is part of must not be stopped. Oops, sorry, went one slide too far. Because our green ammonia production technology is our lead product and is right on the edge of commercialization, let me start by giving you a quick background on what ammonia is, just so everyone understands the importance of what FuelPositive's solution represents. Also called NH3, ammonia is one of the most produced chemicals in the planet, with 200 million tons produced and consumed annually. In fact, it's considered to be one of the 4 building blocks of modern society, along with steel, cement, and plastic. Most people hardly ever think about ammonia. In fact, most people aren't even aware of it, but if you ask farmers, they know. 80% of ammonia manufactured globally today is used in agriculture as fertilizer. The N in NH3 stands for nitrogen, which is an essential building block nutrient for maintaining healthy soil and growing healthy crops. Ammonia is also commonly used in many other sectors, as you can see here. But there's a huge paradox associated with ammonia. The world needs fertilizer to meet the growing demand for food and food security, but the problem is that the traditional production method, where ammonia is made in massive fossil fuel powered refineries, is one of the most emissions intensive manufacturing processes in the world. For every metric ton of traditional or gray ammonia produced globally, almost 3 metric tons of greenhouse gases are emitted. Also, these refineries are centralized, with a small number of them providing all the ammonia used around the world. The resulting ammonia needs to be transported vast distances from the point of production to the point of use. That supply chain is wildly unreliable. Farmers, for example, never know exactly when they will get their delivery, how much they will get, and how much they'll have to pay. Ammonia is becoming unaffordable, and it's about to get a lot worse. If you've been following in the news, you'll be aware that the war in Ukraine is resulting in global fertilizer shortages, which will translate into significantly smaller crop yields for farmers as prices skyrocket and supplies plummet. And that translates into food insecurity. Moreover, Canada's largest import from Russia is nitrogen-based fertilizers, and that supply has now stopped. So to sum up what we call the ammonia paradox, we need ammonia for food security, but producing it is contributing negatively to climate change and in turn is threatening food security. At the same time, the supply of ammonia is unstable and the price has risen so much that many farmers are saying it's completely unaffordable. Well before the terrible events in Ukraine, which have brought a spotlight on the issues, our amazing team was thinking, what if we could produce ammonia without polluting? And what if we could solve the supply chain and price problems? And that's exactly what we've done. And this slide shows how we do it. In comparison to the traditional gray ammonia refinery and supply chain model, this shows you what our green ammonia production system looks like and shows you how we completely disrupt the traditional production model. Our technology, which was first invented by Dr. Ibrahim Dinser and his team from Ontario Tech University, decarbonizes and decentralizes ammonia production. We acquired the technology last year and have applied for a patent with Dr. Dinser and a few others, including our lead project engineer, Dr. Ghassan Shahedi, named on the patent as the inventors. As promised, you'll hear from Dr. Dinser in a few minutes. You can see here that the actual production system has three basic sections: a hydrogen extractor that uses electrolysis to extract hydrogen from water, a nitrogen extractor that extracts the nitrogen from air, and an ammonia synthesis converter, which our patent is built around this unique technology for ammonia synthesis, which is embodied in our converter technology. There are three main benefits of our approach. First, our patent pending technology uses only air, water, and sustainable electricity such as solar, wind, or hydro energy to produce clean, carbon-free green anhydrous ammonia that can be used by any of the industries and sectors that currently use ammonia. The key point is that for the ammonia to be green, the electricity source must be sustainable. Second, beyond the carbon emissions it negates, our system is decentralized, and as such, it completely eliminates the supply chain because the ammonia is produced on the site where the user needs it. We call it a containerized plant in a box because it's modular and fully scalable. Our systems are built to fit within standard 20 and 40-foot shipping containers, and they can be scaled up or down depending on the end user's requirement. Each of our initial systems produce up to 300 kilograms of pure anhydrous ammonia per day. If more production is required, additional systems and components can be stacked. In the case of agricultural use, the system sits right on the farm. Farmers have a steady supply of the exact amount of fertilizer they need when they need it at a steady price they can afford year after year. The third benefit is that because our green ammonia is made without emitting carbon dioxide, it is now being considered for uses that were never thought to be reasonable before for gray ammonia, such as a fossil fuel replacement for engines and grain drying instead of using gas, propane, or diesel. Green ammonia is also being considered for fuel cells, grid storage, and as an ideal carrier of hydrogen for the hydrogen economy. We plan to manufacture these systems first in small batches and later in large quantities using an assembly line approach that Nelson will get into to meet the domestic and global demand that's growing every day. Manufacturing in quantity will allow us to reach a price point that will accelerate demand and increase profit margins for the company. This slide shows what a farm could look like using our system. You can see that water and air go into the FuelPositive containerized production unit that is powered by sustainable electricity sources, in this case, some windmills and a solar array. Some farmers live in an area where the grid is clean, so their power can come from the grid. Some farmers already have renewables powering their farms. Others will need to invest, but we'll help them determine what they need.
Sorry, Ian.
Yep.
You have the slide hasn't moved.
Didn't
Sorry, the slide
advance.
did not move.
So you should be on slide 9.
I'm sorry, hold
and
on.
You're showing slide 8.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to start it again. How about there?
That's slide 8 still.
There
you go.
There we go.
Got it? Sorry. So think about everything that I just said because it applies to this slide. So the green ammonia produced using our system will then be stored on the farm to be used as needed. You can see some storage tanks behind the FuelPositive unit here. The farmer will use our green ammonia as fertilizer for their crops. It can also be used as in an aqueous form as a fertilizer in the farmer's greenhouses. And our green ammonia can be used as a fuel for tractors, grain drying, or any other farm systems and equipment the farmer uses, including generators for backup and high demand power. If the farmer has a sustainable and stable electricity source on the farm, their supply of green anhydrous ammonia will be steady with no price fluctuations year after year, and that's the driving force behind our system. This level of supply chain and energy security is an absolute game changer for farmers, and we're receiving inquiries every single day from all over the world. Did the slide go forward?
Yes.
It did, okay. I'd like to take a break here to introduce Dr. Ibrahim Dinser. Dr. Dinser is recognized as a pioneer and international leader in the area of sustainable energy technologies. His areas of specialty covers various topics, including ammonia, hydrogen energy and fuel cells, renewable energy systems, energy storage systems and applications, carbon capturing technologies, and integrated and hybrid energy systems. His work is truly impressive, and I invite all of you to Google him and to read about his incredible work. He has one of the longest CVs I've ever seen. And he's worked all over the world and published hundreds and has published hundreds of times and is referred to in hundreds and hundreds of references. Beyond that, he's a kind and thoughtful person who's driven to make the world a better place. And we're honored to be able to work with Dr. Dinser. And here he is speaking to us from Zagreb, Croatia. This was filmed on April 9th, specifically for us today. So I will roll this video.
The key question, how to make it really in a sustainable manner. Yes, the FuelPositive technology is gonna make it in a sustainable manner. Hello everyone, my name is Ibrahim Dinser. I am really delighted to be able to address everyone today at the FuelPositive's annual general meeting. I wish I could have been there with you live, but my schedule wouldn't allow me this year to do so, as I have been away for one of my research projects in Europe. So today, really, I like to emphasize 3 important things. One, the need for sustainable technologies, especially coming down to sustainable fuels and fertilizers. And when we look at the solutions, we have been really in a carbon-based age. And now we are moving into a hydrogen age, where hydrogen and ammonia technologies will play a critical role. Those are carbon-free, those are sustainable, and those are technologically really the most suitable commodities. And FuelPositive in this regard has really made a historic attempt to commercialize our technology and really bring up to market, and which is about really sustainable ammonia production. And in this particular technology, really everything is coming down to multiple unique features, such as flexibility, containerization, decentralization, easy operation, and control. These are becoming very important really features. More importantly, to make something commercially viable and economically manageable. So these are also additional targets for the FuelPositive. And more importantly, FuelPositive has moved ahead and really recruited key people and assembled a nice team of experts and to work on this technology to commercialize as quickly as possible. And the team members from almost every discipline, and really to make this unique solution available to the humanity. And I am very happy with it. And also everyone has to remember that people need clean food, clean energy. So this brings things down to fuel and fertilizer. And really ammonia is going to make a unique pace in this to especially solve very important problems related to fuel and fertilizer. So really this is something historical for everyone. And I wish I could have been there. And however, my heart is with you. I also need to emphasize that I always provide my advice to the FuelPositive's team whenever they need my help, whenever they need any specific guidance on any technical issues or technologies, and we do that quite often. Additionally, we have other technologies related to hydrogen and some other potential technologies, as we have been discussing. So the future is bright, and I am very hopeful that we will have a really remarkable achievement coming soon. Thank you all, and I wish you a great success with the meeting. Keep in touch. All the best. The key question.
Great. He's really a wonderful person, incredibly brilliant. Has added so much tremendous value to the company as well. Tremendous resource. So moving ahead here, now that we've got a good sense of our lead technology and what all the excitement is about, I'd like to take a quick look back at the year we completed on December 31st, 2021. It's been an amazing journey, and it continues to be incredibly exciting. As many of you know, we started the year as eStore Corporation with our supercapacitor technology as our key intellectual property. We've experienced many ups and downs with that technology over the previous years, and while we continue to believe in it and are working towards its commercialization, we were actively looking for new technologies we could acquire in order to diversify, take the company to the next phase, and continue to contribute to the battle against climate change. We met with several people and organizations that had some interesting technologies, but it was in January of 2021 that we first met with Dr. Dinser and his team at Ontario Tech University. We saw great potential in their green ammonia production technology and began our due diligence. On January 19th, 2021, we changed the name of the company to FuelPositive to reflect our new focus, and we began to rebrand the company at that point. It was already very clear to us that the ammonia technology was brilliant, and we had to move quickly to secure and commercialize it. In March, we signed the intellectual property acquisition deal, and by June 7th of 2021, 2022, we'll be filing a non-provisional US patent application, incorporating the provisional patent application from June 6th, 2021. It broadens the claims of the provisional patent based on our work over the past year. That application will continue to be examined in the normal course over a 3-year period following publication, and we expect it'll be made public by the end of this year. In May of 2021, we formed our initial manufacturing partnership with National Compressed Air to build our demonstration systems. We continue to work with NCA, and we will be expanding the building of our systems to take place at a new production, office, lab, and R&D facility that we have just secured. More on that in the coming weeks. As I mentioned, in June 2021, we filed for our provisional patent and subsequently raised $5 million Canadian from US institutional investors. We were also very fortunate to have had strong performance in the stock, which resulted in well over $2 million worth of warrants being exercised over the first 2 quarters of 2021 as well. And we wasted no time. Also in June, we began to finalize the engineering to start the building of our first demonstration systems. In July, we hired our carbon credit advisor, Andre Meck, and our chief project engineer, Ghassan, who is also a co-inventor of the technology. In August, we launched our new website to reflect our new brand and flagship product. In September, we announced additional key hires to build our team, including Nelson Leet as chief operating officer. In October, we completed a further $7 million Canadian private placement, which puts our total raised last year to roughly $12 million, or over $15 million if you include warrant and option exercises during that period. And this amount fits into our current plan to carry us through to demonstration system number 3 and beyond. In November, we held a detailed webinar and released our initial operating cost and timing models. So much has been accomplished in such a short time, and we aren't slowing down. On the contrary. In a minute, Nelson, our Chief Operating Officer, will take you through the milestones for this year and beyond. But just before that, I'd like to let you know that we have signed a letter of intent with the first family of farmers who will be FuelPositive green demonstration pilot farms. And the announcement that we made earlier today named Tracy and Curtis Hebert of E-Acres in Manitoba. So we were very, very happy to have Curtis and his family approach us a number of months ago about their particular operation in Manitoba. One of the very exciting things about their family farm is that they've been working with anhydrous ammonia since the 1960s, since the late 1960s. So they were, in fact, one of the first farms in Western Canada to work with anhydrous ammonia. So they have tremendous familiarity with the material. They've got an incredible operation. And I'll turn it over to Curtis now, who we recorded this video of Curtis, and he can give you a little bit more context in terms of their operations and why they were drawn to FuelPositive and our technology.
We have a family farm. I want the farm to be around for my children. So we are trying to be as good to the environment and to that soil as we can. We soil test our soil because we really wanted to know, how much we needed to put on. Sometimes we'll make assumptions based on the crop rotations, so we don't have that too much of a cost of the soil testing and the decision making there. But we're gonna do the best we can and utilize that nitrogen, as well as we can. I've been working with anhydrous since I can remember, so probably since I was 18. Our farm has been working with anhydrous since 1968 when it came to Manitoba. Yeah, we've got lots of experience using it as a nitrogen fertilizer, experience with the safety and precautions that we need to take with it, so we are comfortable with it. actually been probably 3 years that we've started to see a struggle with the supply of fertilizers in general. It was even worse this year where we were waiting for the longest we've ever waited, and we pre-bought early. Thank goodness we bought in early September, late August of 2021, and that helped us to lock in our supply. If we wouldn't have locked in our price, we wouldn't even have got our supply. So we're lucky that we did. If we would have not locked in a price, I wouldn't have been able to put fertilizer down this fall. In the spring of 21, we were probably around $650 per ton, and what we bought for in the fall here was around $1,200 a ton. And I understand that the price has doubled that now. It's moving around a lot, though. The volatility is what we don't like in the market. So that's, it's a bit scary. What I like about it is it's the stability of it. So we know what our cost of, whether it's electricity or whatever form of energy we are using, we know what the cost of that is. That's not going to climb by double. And even if it did climb by double, it wouldn't double the price of our ammonia. That's what we like about it. So basically stabilizing the supply and stabilizing the price. FuelPositive would allow me to bring it all on site. So then I can control the supply. I can somewhat control the price as well based on whatever energy source we need, which I'm assuming is electricity. So those are really important, that we're not going to see drastic changes, and we can lock in how much we need to have on farm. We can plan it, and then we don't have to worry about prices going crazy and the supply and demand of it really changing the way we have to buy it. We just got to work within whatever systems we have, but that's where innovation and being connected to companies like FuelPositive allow me to maybe see hope for something different. Even if it doesn't relieve the stress, it actually makes life easier, right? We're making decisions, pricing, checking prices from multiple different places. We bring it into our control, and that's where the stress is relieved, because we can now just operationally be very efficient. We have a family farm.
Sorry about that. I'd love to now turn things over to Nelson, our Chief Operating Officer. Take it away, Nelson.
Great. Thanks, Ian. Hello. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Nelson Leet, the Chief Operating Officer at FuelPositive. I'm going to take you through the milestones we've set for ourselves this year. You'll see it's an aggressive plan, but we're an aggressive team, so I have no doubt that we'll succeed. It's important to understand that we're not just building green ammonia production systems. We're also building a company and everything involved with that. As far as our green ammonia system, we know exactly what we need to do and the talent we need on the team to do it. So let's start with the team. We've recently hired a mechanical designer and a research assistant to strengthen the core team responsible for building our first demonstration systems. We're now looking for a tooling technician and a chemical engineer and hope to fill those positions soon. We've also hired a new HR manager to help us with additional hiring and setting up HR systems along the way. FuelPositive is a great place to work, so please spread the word that we're hiring. Open positions are always on our website, and as we grow, there will be a lot of them, especially when the manufacturing really kicks in. As well, we've been identifying advisors, most to help us develop our marketing plan and sales strategy. Here are our most recent advisors. Dr. Claudia Wagner-Riddle, an expert in agriculture and nitrogen emissions from the University of Guelph, is playing an important role advising us on how best to address the nitrate emissions associated with nitrogen fertilizers. Jean Milne has joined us as an advisor helping us make our case to governments as we apply for grants and look for partnership opportunities. Derek Boudreau is another key appointment. With his 27-year career at John Deere, Derek has tremendous insight into the latest developments in farm equipment, the needs of farmers, and how best to set ourselves up to work with the agricultural community. You're going to meet Derek in a few minutes. Our most recent appointment was Leith Deacon, who's an expert on market research with a special focus on what makes people tick in rural communities. And we've recently hired Polera, a well-known market research firm, which is conducting research right now to better understand the needs of farmers and how they will make their decisions. These appointments are preparing us to understand our customers and anticipate obstacles and opportunities. It's critical preparation time for us so we can hit the ground running when we're ready for sales. Another part of building the company is setting up the space we need for our team to do their work. We started out working remotely with engineering team working with National Compressed Air in Mississauga, Ontario. In March, we signed our first lease for office space in Kitchener, so our team finally had a place of our own to meet and work together. That space is small though. We have just signed a new lease for a large premises in Waterloo that will allow us to have offices, a lab, and R&D space all in one facility. That means we can shift the building of our systems from National Compressed Air's premises to finish up in our own location. That's just more practical for our team, and we are looking for a location to set up large-scale manufacturing. That's going to take some time to set up, but we are in negotiations now for a possible site. We have been meeting with various federal and provincial ministries and departments and have been thrilled by how enthusiastically we've been received. We've received our first grant from the federal government, a small one that will take us to the next stage so we can apply for additional grants. There are many government funding programs that apply to us that could accelerate our growth. We also want to partner with governments to build our visibility and impact. They can open doors and present opportunities for us. And it's good for them to be involved with us and to have a stake in our success. Governments clearly recognize that our technology helps them to meet their environmental and technological goals. Our milestones for this year include validating the purity of the green ammonia produced by the system, as well as the energy consumption, the rate of production, and the operating costs that we announced late last year. That will be done before the first system is deployed. The next milestones are to identify our partners for the first 3 systems and to get those systems out into the field. You've just heard from Curtis Hebert, and by the way, this is an aerial photograph of his farm, and you will see his solar array in the background. We have 2 more partners to line up. It's a tricky decision to make because we want to demonstrate as much as possible with each project. Happily, we have been contacted by many interested farmers. It's just a matter of getting to know each likely candidate, assessing their farms and operations, and seeing if we're a fit for each project because each has different objectives. First system is truly the demonstration system. The second will be more refined, and the third will have even further improvements. With each system, we'll be making changes to improve efficiencies and reduce the capital costs. As far as getting our demonstration systems up and running, we remain on track. I'll address this in detail after I finished outlining the 2022 milestones. There is another slide of milestones to go through first. As Ian already mentioned, we'll be filing for our non-provisional patent in June, and we're busy working on that now. Once we have our first partnership agreement with Tracy and Curtis signed, the system price will have been set and we can begin to accept pre-orders. It's reasonable to assume we'll have the same agreement with the next 2 systems and then reevaluate and create the plan for the next batch offering. Batch manufacturing has already begun if you count our second and third systems as our first batch. We will continue to build systems in small batches throughout the year. We should be able to set the number of systems soon that we'll build in the next batch. It will be based on funding for materials, supplies, labor, and manufacturing space. Some of the funding will undoubtedly come from pre-orders and some from government funding. We're already preparing for serial assembly line manufacturing to begin in 2023 because we do expect high demand. The next set of milestones are around research and development. Our mission is to provide cradle-to-cradle solutions. That means not just eliminating the CO2 emissions from the production of our green ammonia. It also means we need to help farmers learn how to reduce nitrous oxide emissions on the farm when they use our green ammonia as fertilizer, so we keep our soil, air, and water tables clean and healthy. We're talking with our advisors and experts in this area of agriculture, and we expect to initiate joint studies soon to develop this aspect of our business. We're also embarking on R&D in the area of combustion to develop a system that eliminates nitrous oxide emissions when green ammonia is burned as a fuel. We know how to execute it, but to do that, we will need time, a plan, money, and a facility and resources. Assuming we have the necessary funding, we could have this ready to move into lab testing and validation by the end of March 2023. We're also looking for partners in this area, which might help with the funding. Conversion kits will be required. FuelPositive doesn't necessarily have to build and sell the conversion kits. We're looking at a number of options, but we know this needs to move ahead quickly so farmers can use our systems to produce green ammonia to run their tractors, grain drying equipment, and other engines on the farm. And once we have solutions for fuel on the farm, the fuel can be used in other applications. We're receiving emails about this every day from all over the world, especially from people with transportation sector concerns. There is tremendous interest in green ammonia being used as an alternative to fossil fuels. Another milestone we're working on actively is the identification and acquisition of new intellectual property. We're exploring a number of options, including some brought to us by Dr. Dinser, as he mentioned in his remarks. Finally, we are expecting coverage from financial analysts to start up soon. We've had some fruitful meetings with analysts lately, and they're beginning to reach out to us on their own. That's an important step in our growth as a company. Now I want to get into some details about our first demonstration system. By the time it leaves our facility in the late summer, it will have already passed complete validation. This pertains to all performance specs and standards as engineered, including some form of climatization. We'll be simulating very hot and very cold temperatures to ensure it will operate consistently in the harsh Canadian weather. As a Canadian, I think I can say that if it can work through the Canadian weather, it can work through anything. The objective of this first pilot project is placing the system on the farm and running it on a sustainable energy supply available there, evaluating the interface between the customer and the system, proving the ease of use, and ensuring the system performs over time as expected. I want to point out that it's not our objective to use the first system's initial green ammonia as fertilizer this fall. The Heberts pre-bought their fertilizer for this fall. The green ammonia we produce with the demonstration system can be stored and for use this spring. Now let's look at the timing. Since November, we've talked about a target date of late summer for the first system. In Canada, that means on or before September 21st, because fall begins September 22nd. As of today, we are on target for the first system to be farm ready by then. It could be slightly later than that before it's operational on the farm. However, let me explain what I mean by that, because we want to be as transparent as possible. I've been in manufacturing all of my career. When we make manufacturing plans, we anticipate as many challenges as possible, build in cushions, and we state the assumptions we've made and built into the plan. If an assumption fails to materialize because something different and unforeseen has occurred, we evaluate, plan, and adjust. That's what we've been doing. In this case, obvious global events, including COVID, have created supply chain and delivery challenges. Let me tell you, it isn't just farmers who are experiencing these problems. We sympathize with farmers because we experience them too. We know the stress these challenges can cause. We knew to expect some delays, but couldn't predict them with accuracy. We've been handling them on a case-by-case basis. Because of our approach to planning and the modular design of our system, we've worked around them to keep things steadily moving forward. We also made assumptions about hiring and securing space that have taken longer than expected, but we are gaining momentum now. So I expect we'll be able to be farm ready as planned by late summer. Here are the specifics. The hydrogen system is complete. It's actually been complete for a while now and has passed factory acceptance testing. The nitrogen system is coming along. It's 75% complete because we've had a few delivery delays and had to make a few changes because of that. But even with these delays, we expect to complete the nitrogen system on time. The ammonia synthesis is the part of the system that falls under a provisional patent. It's 60% complete right now, and that's on track. We have lots of time before late summer to finish it up. But there are things related to transportation to the site and the preparation of the site that are not under our control. For instance, the system will be either transported by a combination of truck and train or just by truck from our facility in Ontario to the farm in Manitoba. We will run into a transport problem. Will we run into a transport problem at that point? We really can't be sure. There's a shortage of truck drivers and supply chain backlog that could affect us. We think it's important that people know this could happen. Another thing that is out of our control is the navigation of the requirements of the province of Manitoba and the local jurisdictional regulations. As Ian explained earlier, the customer must have the specific municipal permits in place in order to produce and handle anhydrous ammonia. Sometimes that can be done quickly, and sometimes it takes longer than anticipated. Although they've never produced anhydrous ammonia on their farm, the Heberts, our partners for this project, have worked with it for years. We are hopeful that might help to get the permits granted quickly. A delay there could mean the system could be on the farm, but not able to operate until the permits are in place. The Heberts also need to have appropriate storage tanks on site. Delivery of those tanks could be delayed for any number of reasons. What I can say is that we're controlling everything possible, and we fully expect to be farm ready by late summer. The system will be validated and running in our facility. We'll be able to create videos and take photographs for presentation. We haven't said much until now about how the system will look to the farmers or other end users. It's been designed to make its operation simple. Despite the advanced technology we've used, customers will receive on-site training, but there will be very little for them to do. That's because we've designed a system with over 145 remotely monitored points so that FuelPositive can monitor it, optimize it, and maintain it from our location, and utilize our machine learning and AI software to keep things running smoothly. Our plan is to schedule on-site maintenance visits once per year. Initially, we'll have a team from our head office travel to the site, but over time, we'll train and certify local distributors or service reps to be capable of providing these services. We expect the life cycle of our systems will be several decades with periodic upgrades. For instance, we expect to do a catalyst upgrade at the 15-year mark. We'll be continually advancing the technology, and due to its modular design and remote connectivity, each customer will be able to take advantage of new technologies as they become available. I should also point out that unlike a large refinery, our system can be started and stopped quickly. Delays for things like upgrading a component will be very minimal. Here's some Additional information on our OPEX costing model. If you haven't seen it before, it was originally shared on November 18th of last year. The main graph here compares the cost of gray ammonia to FuelPositive's green ammonia from 2022 to 2030, using the assumptions that I will explain. Our green ammonia costing is at the bottom in green. Just above that is gray ammonia at a minimum cost for the time frame. Then gray ammonia at an average cost. And finally, the top line shows gray ammonia at a maximum cost. As you can see over time, the OPEX cost of our green ammonia production system begins at under $600 per metric ton and goes down over time. We actually place our operating cost in 2022 at $560 per metric ton. That compares favorably to the cost of gray ammonia to farmers in Manitoba over the past year, and even more favorably as the years go on. This is based on the cost of gray ammonia in Manitoba in 2021, which rose from $600 to $1,200 per metric ton. We are hearing from Manitoba farmers now that gray ammonia is still going up, which basically means it's becoming unaffordable for most farmers. We list the assumptions as solar electricity reducing by 11.5% per year, as it has over the last 50 years. We expect energy efficiency improvements of over 18% by 2026 and a further 9% by 2030. Another assumption is that the cost of gray ammonia made using natural gas will increase by 4% annually. Now, understanding that renewable energy plays a large role in a fuel-positive system, it's important to understand how many solar panels, based on today's panel outputs, a typical system would require. The image on the right provides a simple visual which illustrates the size of the solar array in comparison to an 1,800-acre farm in Manitoba, Canada. A 1 megawatt solar array, which is what this farm would require, occupies 1.5 acres, which is just a little bit larger than a football field. The two little red squares at the bottom right show how small that is in comparison to the whole farm. Now let me introduce you to Derek Boudreau, who's going to talk to you a bit about our first key market.
Thanks, Nelson. I'm Derek Boudreau, the Senior Advisor for FuelPositive's Agricultural Implementation. I'll take a few moments to share information on a very important market segment. However, it's worth noting that the benefit of FuelPositive's green ammonia system will apply to all agricultural producers. This will include row crop, bedded crop, greenhouses, as well as vertical farmers. Our initial commercial efforts will beyond our demonstration projects will focus upon the market segment of very large row crop farmers. These farmers are professional operators with several thousand acres in production. An important attribute of this segment is an ammonia demand for the converter's full 100 metric ton annual production. Within the segment, our target customers will have access to a cost-effective green source of electricity, either from the grid or from on-farm generation or both. Additionally, as we qualify customers within this segment, prior experience and the infrastructure in place to support the use of anhydrous ammonia will be ideal. You have already heard from Curtis Hebert, a terrific ambassador and representative of this important segment. This very large row crop segment has demonstrated an ability to adopt new technologies. These farmers have been adopting precision agriculture tools to transform their practices over the last 20 years. Precision agriculture strives to limit the application of inputs to what the crop needs, where and when it is needed. The ultimate goal is to optimize the return on inputs while preserving resources, which includes fertilizer, water, and fuel. Several key technologies are required to enable precision agriculture. These technologies include monitoring soil conditions and GPS yield maps to manage variances. Tractors are equipped with GPS guidance systems for precise seed placement and simultaneous as well as subsequent application of nutrients. Nutrient application equipment has controllers that enable variable rate application based upon GPS position, and emerging technologies will use plant recognition systems. Variations are graphically presented in color-shaded maps, similar to the picture on this slide, describing variable rate application of seed, fertilizer, and measurement of yield at harvest. FuelPositive's green ammonia applied with these precision agricultural technologies will provide a powerful solution for sustainable agriculture. Now let me introduce you to Andre Meck.
Thank you so much, Derek. I'm Andre Meck. I'm FuelPositive's Carbon Credit and Emission Reduction Advisor. Our production system is a low carbon economy product, so we will have an opportunity to take advantage of the price on carbon. In fact, FuelPositive expects significant revenue from carbon credit value that we generate as our carbon-free green ammonia is produced. We plan to generate carbon credits for voluntary and compliance markets that are active in areas where our production systems are used. Although procedures and carbon credit schemes exist, we're working on an ammonia-specific protocol and policy to address this targeted opportunity in a targeted manner. The revenue derived from carbon credits and emission reductions will fund future growth and investment in new carbon-conscious technologies. They will also help to offset the price of our systems for our customers. Here's our thinking. Our initial demonstration system will produce up to 300 kilograms per day of green anhydrous ammonia, which is enough for a farm in the 2,000 acre range, depending, of course, on crops grown and the location of the farm. This equates to just over 100 tons per year of carbon-neutral green ammonia. Natural Resources Canada calculates that for every ton of gray ammonia produced in Canada, it causes 1.81 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. And that number increases to 2.87 metric tons on average globally. The numbers differ depending on jurisdiction. For this meeting, we will use Canadian and European models just to give us an example of the potential. 1 ton of emission reductions in Canada in 2022 is priced by the government at $50 per ton. That price will increase by $15 per ton every April until it hits $170 a ton as an incentive to spur movement of the economy to a low carbon economy. So let's do the math and get an idea of the scope of the value we will realize by selling carbon credits. Since each system installed and operating in Canada produces 100 tons of green ammonia annually, each system will generate $50 times 100 tons times 1.81 tons of emissions. That equals $9,050 in 2022. This becomes $11,765 in 2023, etc., etc., until $30,770 in 2030, when Canadian system caps out at $170 per ton. Note that this is per system and per year. FuelPositive expects to deliver hundreds and then thousands of systems a year. Here are some examples of the value we expect. With 100 systems in operation, say in 2024, it would be reasonable that the carbon credits would be worth 1.448 million Canadian dollars. With 1,000 systems in operation in, say, 2025, it would be reasonable that the carbon credits would be worth 17.195 million Canadian dollars. Needless to say, it's a pretty significant potential return. It's important to note these are recurring annual values that will recur as long as the carbon market remains in force. And it is expected to remain until the economy is decarbonized in 2050. It is also important to note that the price on carbon in tons and the carbon intensity attributed to the production of ammonia varies from region to region. Europe is also a market for us that will provide us with significant and recurring income streams. In Eastern Europe, the price of carbon is on the order of 110 Canadian dollars, and the carbon intensity is about 2.96. So 100 units in Eastern Europe would provide about 3.256 million Canadian dollars in 2022. Our green ammonia production system provides unique opportunities in the emission reduction market space, and FuelPositive is well positioned to take advantage of these markets. Now, I'd like to hand you back over to Ian Clifford, our CEO and board chair.
Thanks for that, Andre. And those carbon credit models are extremely intriguing and will play a significant role, obviously, for the company going forward. Also, thanks to Nelson and Derek for your thorough updates with lots of new and exciting details for our stakeholders. I wanted to leave you with our share metrics. We're extremely pleased with the performance of the stock over the last year. And I'm also very happy with the new quality of both institutional and retail investors that are taking meaningful positions in the stock. Some of you are on this call. We have great advisors on the financial market side of the equation, and things are moving steadily forward with consistency. And as you've heard throughout the presentation, a real genuine attempt to underpromise and over-deliver in every aspect of the business. In summary, this is our final slide before taking some questions. So as I mentioned, please enter them into the Q&A area, and we'll try to get to as many as we can today. Those that we can't get into, we will absolutely follow up in the coming days and weeks. So again, thank you so much for everyone joining us at our meeting today. Hopefully we'll be able to host all of you next year in person at our facilities in the Kitchener-Waterloo region, as Nelson mentioned. So let me provide a brief summary to wrap this up. We've come a really long way since January 2021. We've acquired the intellectual property that has given us a new future and promises to have worldwide impact in regard to reducing emissions and combating climate change. We've built a great team that is making it all possible. We're developing partnerships that will ensure we succeed at every stage of our growth. And we're on a solid financial footing, and we are creating the relationships we need with governments and investors around the world to attract more funding and a broader investor base. We're exploring new opportunities to grow with into the future, and we're on track to deliver our first systems into the field this year, which is extremely exciting. It's mind-boggling when you start to think that we've gone from a cold start with the acquisition of the green ammonia production system intellectual property 13 months ago to being ready for the field 5 months from now, with basically a new company and a new team, and that done during a global pandemic with serious supply chain issues that Nelson pointed out. I am so proud of this company and the work this team delivers on a daily basis. So thanks again so much for your interest, and please let us know any questions you have, and we'll try to answer them now, as I said, and if not, we'll get to them in the coming days. So that then ends our management update. And Jennifer, I know you've been compiling questions as we go through, so why don't you direct the questions, and we'll get to as many as we can. I'm just looking at the time now. We will plan to end this call at the bottom of the hour. So it gives us about a little over 10 minutes for questions. If there are some that we go over on, as I said, we'll make sure we can probably go a few minutes over, but we'll try to get to as many as we can now. Jennifer.
Do you have a technology to convert ammonia to hydrogen for use in fuel cells?
That's a really interesting question. Dr. Dinser touched on that a little bit. One of the technologies we are going to be looking at very seriously over the next year is actually ammonia fuel cell technology. So there is no need for conversion. The ammonia will be utilized directly in an ammonia fuel cell, converting that to electricity. But more on that in the future. Cracking hydrogen out of ammonia is well understood, quite energy intense, and there are lots of interesting new technologies coming up in that space as well. So we've got our eyes focused on that, and we'll announce any movement in that area in the coming year.
Another question, are you evaluating other technologies to generate hydrogen to use in ammonia production?
Nelson, do you want to jump in on that?
Sure, of course. Yes, we continue to evaluate new technologies with the generation of hydrogen, both for OpEx reasons to make it more efficient, and also for CapEx reasons. So out of the gate, we're hoping to make the cost of the system much lower by coming up with our own technology. There's about 3 or 4 different methods that we're currently evaluating. So in parallel with building our current system and staying focused on commercializing of that system, in parallel with that, we are developing some other technologies.
Okay. Will FuelPositive be licensing the technology to other uses like trucks or for ship fuel?
Yeah, that's a great question. As you can see right now, we're heavily focused on agriculture for all the reasons that we've stated during the presentation. But as Nelson touched on, we are getting approached by virtually every sector utilizing fossil fuel, also a lot of interest in the refrigeration sector as well for green refrigerants. So it's a really broad world out there in terms of potential for us. Our biggest challenge is actually to stay focused. We have so many different opportunities, as you can imagine. So we are evaluating each one, and we have a very detailed diligence process that we follow on new technologies. So we are looking at opportunities and prioritizing them going forward, but we're being very, very prudent in that context.
This question is kind of related, but I think it's worth asking. Will you in time offer NH3 generators for family homes?
Yeah, another great question. It's going to
We lost your audio. Ian, we lost your audio.
Nelson, maybe you can answer that.
Absolutely. I think it's a natural progression. Sorry, we lost your audio, Ian.
Oh, did you?
So I was jumping in for you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure. I think it's a natural progression. When we develop our system and miniaturize it, commercialize it further, we obviously, with the modularity, it can be scaled even lower. So the idea is to make it as cost effective as we can over time. And as we get to that stage, the natural progression would be to be able to offer it to residences. But I think we're a little ways away from that right now, but it's definitely a natural progression.
Okay, I've got more questions coming in, so I'm just adding them to my list. Okay, who will be collecting the carbon credits?
Andre, that's an obvious question for you.
That's an obvious question. We will be collecting them and then distributing them either to fund for future research and development or to offset the price with farmers. But we will be collecting them so that we can get them into tradable volumes. We have to collect them from a number of different farms to get a big enough volume, a big enough chunk that will get the buyers interested.
Okay. Have you decided on sales versus leasing of units?
Derek, do you want to talk a little bit to that?
I certainly can. At this point in time, we're leaning towards the sale of the units. Most of it is from a working capital standpoint. We feel that the ultimate price range of these units are well within the range of especially the larger agricultural producers that I spoke to earlier, and to help the company in terms of expanding as rapidly as possible and serving as many customers as possible. The outright sale would be in our best interest at this point.
Okay. When do you expect to be taking orders for units?
Nelson, do you want to, you touched on that in your presentation.
Of course. So we are taking orders very soon. We're establishing the first real sales agreement currently. So we're building that structure out for the sales agreement, and that will be put in place with our first pilot system. That'll expand out to the next two systems, which we will be taking those pre-orders. Future pre-orders after that, I believe we will be taking those shortly after, but the first set of pre-orders I would say are going to take place within the next month or so, and then heading towards the end of the summer, we'll start taking pre-orders for the next batch.
Okay. When does FuelPositive project approximately to report its very first income stream?
So, well, clearly out of the context that Nelson was just talking about, initial income will come through that. We will also, as soon as we start producing green ammonia on any farm, we'll start basically banking those credits. So those do have value as well, but very much around the pre-orders is the next stage of revenue for the company, initial stage of revenue for the company.
What will it cost a farmer to get up and running with a single 40-foot container unit?
Yeah, and I'll talk briefly to that. We have not published CapEx costing at this point, and are working through that model with through our initial demonstration systems, and of course in terms of reducing some of the CapEx costs to us as we refine and improve our systems going forward. The intention here is to create a return on investment for the farmer that is within the context of their existing operations. So something that is manageable within a time frame that is customary within that, and also to generate a good margin for the company as well. So those are our criteria, and that's what we're working towards. We feel that we'll be attaining that without challenge going forward. But again, the first systems obviously always cost more than a production system, so we're not locking that in yet. But as Nelson indicated, we will be locking in a form of pricing for the end users as we go through the initial order placements.
How big will the first system be? Is it one container or more?
Nelson, do you want to go?
Sure. The first system is the very first demonstration system. It's 3 small containers, so 3 20-foot containers. It's important to keep in mind that the demonstration system isn't necessarily designed to be miniaturized. It's designed to be convenient for testing and proving and validation. So making sure that we can get the scientists in there safely with their laptops to be generating tests and validation receipts, etc. The system number 2 and 3 that we build will be focusing on miniaturizing it. So we do expect it to get to be 2 small containers, so 2 20-foot containers. The first system is 3 20-foot containers.
This one is kind of fun. I'm in Winnipeg, close to the pilot plant. Can I visit the plant to review progress?
Only if you bring sandwiches.
Right. Yeah, at least sandwiches, yeah, and a parka, depending on the time of year. But the short answer is eventually, for sure, once the system is commissioned and safely in place, we will be inviting and organizing tours. We think there's just going to be so much interest, not only within the farming community, but within the investment community as well. So absolutely. And we know that Tracy and Curtis are very interested in helping us get the story out. And as you saw from Curtis's presentation, they have a wonderful setup on their farm. They've got a 200 kilowatt solar system that will be plugged, hopefully directly into our system. But the idea being that we're going to use as much on-farm sustainable electricity as we can, with the prospect of enlarging their solar array as well, to get as far off-grid as possible in terms of their production, which of course would give them that much more security and certainty in years to come in terms of pricing and supply.
Okay. Once you get a production line set up, how many units will initially be produced per month?
I can speak to that. So that's going to depend on the demand and our capacity, so the space requirements. So when we look at pre-orders, that's why the pre-orders become so important, because they give us some leading indicators as to how large of a facility to plan for, and then can build out the type of manufacturing that we're going to utilize. So initially we're doing batch manufacturing. So the first year, when we look at 2022, we're 3 units, which is realistically, that's pretty impressive, building 3 of these units that are newly invented all within 1 year in a very small facility. Then we have to start taking pre-orders to see what the demand is going to be. All the indicators are showing us that demand won't be an issue. There's going to be a lot of demand. So then what we need to do is start planning out for longer term manufacturing. What we've been outlining is strategies to be able to handle roughly between 2 and 4 units per month. And we're building out our plan for facilities around there. But we need to have that validated by the demand in those pre-orders.
Okay.
Jennifer, I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions.
Okay. Who's your biggest competitor going to be?
That's a great question. There aren't many players, certainly in the small containerized market at all. We believe that our technology is really exemplary in the smaller generation space. We are focused very, very heavily on end user application for our technology. So that's a big differentiator for us, creating that level of independence and removing the supply chain from the equation for end users. So that's a big differentiator. We think this market is, if you branch out into different sectors, is somewhat endless. So we do see this opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity out there, let me put it that way, and there will be competitors, but we believe we're going to have a lot of first mover advantage, and we have a tremendous design of our system, and we really believe that that we're going to be able to dominate the market that we're setting up for many years.
Okay, last question. What's the status of your ultra capacitor technology?
Yeah, I touched on that earlier in the presentation. We do have a group, as I mentioned, associated with NASA who are progressing that technology, looking at some very interesting and novel ways of creating some test units That work is underway right now. As I said, we're not announcing anything specific on that until we have independent validation and verification on that work. Given the history of that technology, we want to make sure that we are never in an overpromise and underdeliver type situation again. And it's imperative that we move things forward there very carefully. But the team is incredible who are working on that technology, the level of skill and novel approach. I should point out that some of the technologies that are being applied to that now didn't exist 5 years ago. So this is very, very intriguing in terms of moving that technology towards commercialization, and more on that in the future, obviously, as we have things to talk about. So again, I just wanted to thank everybody for your participation. Please feel free to send in more questions that come out of this, come out of our AGM, and we'll happily get to all of them in due course, but we plan to be very responsive very quickly. So again, I wanted to thank my fellow panelists. It was a great presentation. We'll get the other video up as well on our website, so you can all view that at your convenience. But once again, thank you so much for everybody who participated today, and have a wonderful day. Thank you again.